Hi, I'm Peter J. Shield. Welcome to my world of unexplained mysteries, Vegas style. Most of the time on this program we devote our attention to mysteries well beyond our shores. Many of the unexplained and unsolved crimes and mysteries that abound in our society today. I thought it would be a very pleasant change to come back home to the real world that exists in our immediate vicinity of Las Vegas. The focus, of course, has been on Las Vegas since the introduction of the CSI program, and in particular on the area of expertise that my special guest today has. Today we're going to look at some very real mysteries that exist right here in Las Vegas, and I'm privileged and very proud to introduce you to our special guest today, the Clark County Coroner, Mr. Mike Murphy. Mike, thank you so much for coming in today.
And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Real pleasure. I really want to congratulate you and your department on the exciting new project that has recently only just gone to air, of course, your own special website focusing on some of the unidentified and mysterious deceased that exist in our community today. Where did that concept come about?
Well, Ron Flood, who was the coroner in Clark County for the last 19 years, just retired in May. As I came on board during our transition period, we talked about the ways that we could run our office more efficiently and utilize the technology that was available to us to solve unsolved cases. And as we began to brainstorm on that project, we recognized very quickly that the internet and the World Wide Web would be a good way to do that. As that began to unfold, we were just in the beginning stages of utilizing digital technology for our photograph work with the forensic staff. Combining those two issues basically brought us to the conclusion that we could take photographs of unidentified remains, digitize them, in effect clean the photo so that it was an appropriate photo for the public to look at, and then place it onto a website, and then use those appropriately viewable photos and ask the public, do you know who this individual is? And we thought that there was no better way to reach the public in this day and age than through the computer.
Absolutely.
So as a result of that, we began the project. Ron retired the end of May, and we rolled the project out in full force November 1st of this year.
Wow. One of the interesting things, viewers, that you will notice is that on the right-hand side of our screen right now, you have a hot link, a means whereby you can just click directly and go to the images and the information that Mike and I are going to be discussing on our program today here on VegasWebcast.com. Similarly, we're relatively new in the industry, and we're new in the sense that we're bringing live television from Las Vegas to the world, and I felt that this would be an ideal medium, particularly for we have so many of our guests that come to Las Vegas, and those, of course, who end their lives here in Las Vegas, who may be from parts as far away as anywhere in the world, I guess. So it seemed a natural a family uniting what you're doing with what we're doing and bringing these images to a much wider market. We're going to take a look at a number of specific cases today. We're going to discuss with Mike some of these images. If you are somewhat sensitive, be warned that we're going to be offering you some graphic images, but as Mike has quite correctly pointed out, they've been very careful in editing and retouching so as to cause the minimum amount of offense to any of you who might be watching, and particularly, of course, if you happen to recognize the image and the face that you're looking at on our screen today. Let's start off by looking at Sahara Sue.
Sure.
One of the cases that Mike's recently had to deal with, but it goes back to 1979, I believe. Mike.
That's correct. What I'd like for you to know about the cases in general that are on the web is that there were, when we opened the site, there were 138 unsolved cases that were either John or Jane Doe's, which is the way we refer to them. Sahara Sue, by the way, means that she was, most cases are named by the fact that it's a male, and then it's John Doe, and the female Jane Doe, and then a location where they were found.
Right.
Sahara Sue dates back to 1979. She's one of our 138 cases that are unsolved. She was found on August 14th of 1979 at 8:30 in the evening by a passing pedestrian walking through the parking lot of what at that time was the old El Rancho parking lot, which was across the street from the Sahara Hotel, hence the Sahara Sue doe. She was observed as a partially disrobed female lying face down in a parking lot. The decedent had no identification on her person in any way, shape, or form. Her clothing was unique, and there are some photos when you go to the website, on our website that's linked through yours, you will see that there's some jewelry and at that time clothing that would be somewhat unique in reference to the, some of her garb, and you can look at that. She was found that it was a homicide due to multiple stab wounds, and fingerprints were taken. There was no match. An extra note might be that she did not have any teeth. She did have an upper denture, but the lower denture was missing. And she's believed to be between 17 and 21 years of age, and is a Caucasian female, 5'6", with 103 pounds.
Mike, in a case like this, where you've got a Jane Doe, or a John Doe for that matter, what is the first source that you look for? Is it fingerprints? Is it dental work? Where do you go first to try
One of
to
the first,
identify?
that's an excellent question. One of the first things we do is try to go with a facially recognizable photo and show it in the area and see if we can find something that matches that. Our next step is always to go to fingerprints if they're available. Sometimes the fingers are missing or the hand is missing, or in the case of a body being severely decomposed, raising a fingerprint is very, very difficult. As the technology has gotten better in our industry, of course, we are able to do a lot more with fingerprints than we could back in 1979. We now also capture, before we release any body for burial, is we capture full dental records. In this particular instance, we have dentures. We will do full x-rays of the body because we can actually do ante-mortem x-rays prior to death and post-mortem and do a comparison. And of any broken bones or special issues with the bones. We have an anthropologist look at the body, and then we will also capture now DNA.
Because if we believe some of the television programs that we watch nightly, it's a very simple matter, and nobody could ever be unidentified for any length of time.
You would think.
Yes, exactly so. But in the real world, of course, obviously it's very much different.
It is different, and the database that's out there right now, the largest single database for doing what I would refer to as a blind search or an unknown search, is still fingerprints.
It is.
That is certainly the largest database. When I do public tours, I ask a group of 40 people to hold their hands up, how many people know you have fingerprints on file? Virtually 99% of those people in the room will say, yes, I have fingerprints on file. If you ask how many have DNA, you might get 1 or 2 out of 40 or 50 people. And so, while the DNA base is there, unfortunately, it is not built to the level that we need it to at this point.
Do we have any specific figures for the number of people that in the United States, for example, or as a percentage, actually have had their fingerprints recorded at some stage?
I don't have those accurate figures, but I can tell you that I would venture to say that we're probably looking at somewhere to 80 to 90% of the individuals that are in America certainly have at one point or another had their fingerprints taken. And as we see more background checks as a result of individuals that have to deal with school-age children, different security issues for jobs, yes, gaming, of course, and in Nevada, we see that if you're in the gaming industry, you have had a set of fingerprints taken.
Well, we're going to take a little break right about now. We'll be back very shortly with our special guest, Michael Murphy.